Over the past couple weeks, I've played a fair bit of Obsidian's new action RPG Avowed, and today I'm finally going to answer the question, is Avowed good? Long story short, it's good, but it's not great. The game has a lot of problems and does do a lot of things right, but with Obsidian's track record of games, I feel like this is a step down from their previous work. I haven't personally played Outer Worlds, but I've seen it's quite highly rated, and other games they've made like Pillars of Eternity is also quite acclaimed, but Avowed somehow sits in this category of games where it's good enough to play whilst you wait for another game to come, but it's not really worth your time if you're dropping something like KCD 2, for example. But if you have no idea what Avowed is, quick crash course. Avowed is Obsidian Entertainment's new RPG set in the world of Eora, that some of you might know from their popular game Pillars of Eternity. But without waffling on too much, let's get straight into my thoughts. First off, character creation. Character creation didn't seem too bad to me, seemed pretty solid, and similar to most RPGs, most of the characters come out looking a bit samey, so that puts it a little bit down. But one of my main issues I had with this, and I feel like this is just me not really liking a lore standpoint, was the godlike features that you could add to your character. I just had no appeal of having mushrooms on my head. I don't know if this is just me being weird, but for some reason the first thing that came to my mind was Last of Us clickers. So I wasn't really vibing with that. And I know there was a setting just to turn it off, but I felt like this looks like one of the big parts of the game. But after you create your character, you're thrown straight into the game on your way to the Living Lands. I think the Living Lands is pretty well designed. I didn't dislike any of the cities either, but they could be a little bit more populated. And one other feature I really liked in the world building of this game is I really like the parkour elements of the game because it allowed the designers to really like mix up the designs of the levels to make it so you could parkour up a cliff or something and find some really cool hidden loot. I actually really like that. Also, gets away from some janky jumping systems like in Skyrim and other games. But going into some more of the gameplay, the combat in particular, it's been called the evolutionary step from the Skyrim combat, but I just don't know. I just feel like it's very simple and I was getting a little bit bored, but then I finally started unlocking some more of the skills, like using parries and then a cool stun move finisher you do. But then I started to realize no matter what, the stun move finisher is just always the same, no matter who you're fighting, if it's a monster or a person or whatever, and it just ends up getting a bit boring. I just don't know how hard it would have been for them to put like 5 different finishes in just to mix it up. And weirdly enough, in this game I thought I would really hate the guns they added in, but as soon as I started dual wielding pistols and using the rifles, it felt very cool to me. But it also felt like the range was just so much more powerful and more viable than the melee, and that's due to the enemies. I felt like they maybe dumbed down the enemies too much. They added cool things like parrying and just like the punchy combat in a way I'd say it's called, but all the enemies have this really weird delayed swing. They like swing at you, go slow-mo, and then swing fast. So you can't use like human instincts of how somebody moves to predict a parry because they're not moving like a normal person. They ended up moving like they're giving you an opening to be like, I'm going to hit you now. And I just feel like that's really frustrating. And also all the enemies seem to do this weird lunging slide at you. When you just walk out of range of them, you're like, oh, they can't hit me from here, but then they just whoop. Just hit you anyway. It's very frustrating. But onto some of the other more core gameplay aspects that aren't really related to combat. I quite liked the camping feature. It's so similar to like games like Baldur's Gate where you camp for the night, go to sleep, wake up the next day, and they have kind of a crafting bench there, an upgrading bench, and like an enchanting table. And I thought that was really cool, but I just felt like they didn't really use it as well as they could have. And I think actually like most of the crafting in the game just felt a little bit lackluster. You could enchant a weapon, but the only weapons you could enchant were unique weapons you find in the world, and they're very limited as well. I would have loved to have been able to actually enchant like a normal weapon, like a common weapon you could grab off the ground, as the only way you can really upgrade weapons throughout the game is purely with upgrade materials. As you start off with a common weapon at the start of the game, you use these materials you grab throughout the world, or by breaking down other weapons, make it from common to a fine weapon. And all the enemies level this way as well, so it becomes kind of just a bit boring. Like I want to be able to have a sword I had, build it up if that's the way they like it, and then enchant it with an enchantment I found on other weapons to improve it and make it my own. Instead, you're stuck with just using uniques the whole game, and really just the basic weapons are just a throwaway weapon you use to get more materials. And with other gameplay aspects like the choice making in the game, they've obviously gone a lot with the normal RPG choices matter kind of vibe, but nothing really makes it so the choices really matter throughout the game. I feel like I could say anything to anyone, kill most people, and they probably wouldn't even care. Going on to killing other people, you cannot do anything bad in the game. It literally feels like you're being pushed in a narrative in a role-playing game of being like, you're a good guy, you can do some little bad things on the line, but you can't go full bad. What I think turns a lot of people off of games like this, like Fallout, Elder Scrolls. You can just go into a village, kill someone's chicken, or snipe someone across the map, and reload your save if you really want to. But this is like, you walk into the town, try hit someone, nothing happens. Try stealth around what is not even a thing in the game, and try pickpocket or steal or anything. No, you just walk into people's houses, loot their chest, leave, they don't care. And it just seems weird. Like, it's meant to be a role-playing game, but you can't play the role you want to. What I feel like just detriments the game completely. Also, for some reason they decided that lockpicking wouldn't be a thing in this game. It was just to hold a button down to unlock a box. And then for some reason as well, they decided to make a lot of the game in caves, but you have no torches. No torches, no mage lights, anything like that that could help you when you're going through the darkest areas in the game. You're just stuck in darkness constantly, and it's just so frustrating. And then finally, their biggest gameplay feature that I loathe is you can swap out followers to another follower, but you can't just go around solo. The game is built around having companions with you. Obviously, that's what the game is, but at the same time, I almost sometimes just wanted to venture alone, go around the world without hearing my companions' opinions on every single thing they see. It gets a bit tedious. But carrying on to companions and characters, the companions seem okay. Like, they're not badly done. They're not badly written most of the time either, I don't think. But game almost just rushes you into this thing where, like, you literally get off the boat from the prologue, and then you're instantly like, here's Garrus from Mass Effect. He's now your friend. He's coming with you. I hope you like him. And it's just like, what if I don't like this? What if I don't want this guy? I get having a mission with him and maybe introducing you to him, getting you a bit more into him, but it's like, I'm with you now, bro. You can't get rid of me. Okay, all right. And then we meet his friend, Marius, and he is the worst character ever. He is so dull and so annoying. He moans at everything you do in conversations, butting into any dialogue and just interjecting with some sarky comment, and then he just never shuts up.
Right, changing the subject.
But onto more dialogue stuff, like the dialogue doesn't seem bad. It just seems like kind of just normal. One thing about the dialogue I really did like though, and this isn't really dialogue, this is more accessibility. There's like a lore option in the dialogue, and PC I think it's pressing F. And when someone says something crazy about, like, in the lore, that I'm like, what the hell is that? And it's like, if you press F, you can look at it and it'll be like, that means this. And it's like, that is a feature I wish was in most games. Because sometimes I'm playing it, I zone out for a bit and I'm like, wait, what the hell did they just say? Like, that's a good feature I want to see more in other games. But then going on to like things like UI, the UI isn't bad. It's just a little bit basic. Like, the game is meant to be this like medieval fantasy world with all this crazy magical shit going on, and some reason the UI just reminds me of like an MMO almost. It's weird. It just feels like very boxy, very just like plain. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't fit very well. And then going on to the HUD as well, the fact you have so many companion skills going on, you have your skills as well, then you have like a little companion thing on the left telling you if they want to talk to you, and then I think you've got the mini map, you've got the objective list, and it's just so much. And there's like a part where I turned off the HUD and the game looks so good without the HUD, but then you can't play because you don't know how to really use the abilities well, unless you do your little scroll wheel or like radial wheel, whatever the hell it's called, for all the abilities, but that's just long. But really, like, my main thought is like, I wish the game was grittier. There's so many bits where there's like dark themes going on. You go to the second area and they have like these undead corpses done by animancers, what they're called, plowing the fields and shit. And I'm like, this is dark. Like, this is cool and dark. I like it. And there's these mushroom disease, the plague, taking over all these animals and stuff. But like, the whole game's like sun and rainbows. I just can't explain it. I would want it to be gritty. Like the first trailer that came out of the game, however long ago it was, like 8 years ago, if they went for that vibe, damn, the game would be so good. In total, the game just holds back too much. Just stop holding my hand, let me go out into this world and struggle. let me just experience it, because a lot of it is like, okay, go straight over there, here's all this UI that tells you where everything is. There's no challenge really. The only challenge you'll have is the lunging enemies, and sometimes you just haven't leveled your gear high enough, so you just get beaten the shit out of. But as soon as you over level your gear, you're just one-tapping everyone. It's very weird. But to finish off my opinion of Avowed, let's talk about the story. The story never really hooked me. I don't know if this is because I didn't play Pillars of Eternity and the lore kind of might slip over my head a little bit, but it just feels like I wasn't really drawn to anything. A lot of the characters end up being quite forgettable and almost like you just don't want to side with any of them. Then when it comes to making some of the decisions in the game, you almost just wing it. And of course they went for one of the obvious plot lines of having an empire coming to a new land and just being general assholes. It's just getting a little bit boring. Then onto the main plot point of the story, the Dream Plague, and you being a godlike and having a mother god or whatever, you know, like, it's kind of, I just wasn't that interested, and it kind of comes across as well. I don't know if it was because of how they approached it. Some reason they decided after big plot point, you know, this dream segment, like similar to like Baldur's Gate with the Mind Flare, and it's just riddles and moral questions and garbage. You just don't want to, it's boring. It takes you out of the game so much that when you actually come to doing the story points, you can't be bothered. And I think because of this, other situations in the game where, and all of a sudden you get this voice in your head telling you about plot points and big moments in the game, you're kind of just over it. It just gets a little bit tedious. But all in all, I think Avowed is okay. It's okay and it's good. I've enjoyed my time. But when you look at what they could have made, it's not great. And with games like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 out there that are pushing the boundaries with certain things and making a really new and unique experience, games like Avowed just come across too basic, too normal. The systems are too easy. Like there's no real progression and it loses that little bit of spark. My final thoughts, I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, Obsidian should have done better. Like, of course they want to do better. They don't want to make a shit game, but sometimes games don't come out what they want it to be. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having a good game instead of a bad game. Some games have to fill the gaps between the next great game, right? And that's kind of sad to say for Obsidian, but next time, let's hope they bring out a banger. But thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below on your thoughts on the video.